Hello, and welcome to the first episode of my 3-episode graduation project featuring the life of my great-uncle, Joseph, or Joe, Pierce, and his journey before, during, and after World War II. This episode focuses on Joe's life before the war. Joe grew up in Statesville with his mother, Hazel Klein Moore, and his father, James Flake Moore, but everybody called him Flake. Joe's birthday is December 4th, 1923. This means that Joe was old enough to watch as the Great Depression would have been starting up. Bank runs in the fall of the stock market due to over-speculation caused many families to lose all of their money and become impoverished. People had to watch as all their money was pulled from the banks. People were losing their homes and were starving, trying to get money. People were waiting in bread lines in order to get food, and you weren't even guaranteed that you would get bread if you got far enough back in the line. With people losing their homes, they were forced to live on the streets, and eventually the people came together and formed little communities called Hoovervilles, which were named after the president at the time, Herbert Hoover, who was blamed for not helping during the Depression. The huts in Hoovervilles were made of anything that could help withstand the elements, like cardboard, sheet metal, or just fabric. Many of the houses could only fit 1 to 2 people at most. Joe and his family were lucky and did not lose their house during this time. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the president after Hoover. When FDR became president, he sought out to try and fix this economic crisis with what he called the New Deal. The idea of the New Deal was to start a lot of federal aid agencies that would help those who were being affected by the Depression. There were 3 goals of these programs: creation, reform, and regulation. Programs like the Civilian Conservation Corps, or the CCC, gave jobs to people by having them work to build parks, plant trees, or build infrastructure. All of the work done by the CCC was conducted by men from the ages of 14 to 24. FDR also worked with banks to try and build back their trust with the people. FDR's New Deal implemented the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which protected citizens' money in banks up to a certain amount. This brought trust back to banks, which allowed the banks to use money gained to make investments, which in turn caused the economy to become a little bit better. FDR lastly wanted to reform how we handle these kinds of situations for the future. He started the National Recovery Administration, or the NRA for short. This program is what sets standards like minimum wage. This made sure families would be able to live with a good wage and a good life. There is not much, if any, documentation of Joe's life before he got into high school. He was actually a very average student who liked participating in sports. He played basketball and actually earned the name Smiling Joe Pierce from local newspapers. After high school, Joe enlisted in the United States Navy. He left for basic training on Thursday, December 26, 1940. After he had completed his basic training, he was assigned to the battleship Wasp. During this time, interesting things are happening in Germany. The German people are desperate after their loss from World War I. Germany is in an economic depression as well from the effects of the Treaty of Versailles, which had them pay money to all the affected countries during the war. Hitler is now on his rise to power after promising the German people relief from the Depression. Hitler is now starting the reconstruction of the German army and the development of new weapons. Hitler actually became very popular amongst the German people with the increasing military might. It provided jobs for the citizens, whether it was as a soldier or as a factory worker building weapons of war. With his increased popularity mixed with the desperation of the people, he was able to manipulate the public. This is what allowed him to become the fascist leader that we know today. This is also how Hitler started the Holocaust, because he was blaming the Jewish people for anything that was wrong with the country, and the German citizens believed him because he was their leader. Once Hitler had built his army up, he started a campaign to take back all the land that Germany had lost from the Treaty of Versailles. He justified his actions by saying that the people in those areas were more loyal to Germany than they were to the nation that gained the land. Once Germany had gained all the land that was taken by the Treaty of Versailles, Hitler got greedy and wanted more. Hitler decided that he would use Blitzkrieg to invade Poland, which started World War II. Blitzkrieg was the Nazi battle tactic that was used in which they would attack their opponents as fast as possible to get the element of surprise. This tactic was very successful because the other side would be caught off guard and wouldn't have much time to respond to the attack before the German forces were too close. Thank you for watching the entire video. If you could, comment below any feedback you have. It could be what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy, any suggestions for improvement, or just anything related to the project. I will be looking at the feedback and taking everything that is said into consideration as we continue on my project. Thank you once again.